So good morning, Marcus. How are you today?
Very well, Susan. Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Oh, that's awesome. And what part of the world are you in? What amazing place?
I am very fortunate to be in the Byron Shire, just about 20 minutes north of Byron Bay. The sun is shining. The sky is blue. The kids are playing football in the driveway. And it's morning tea time.
Fantastic. Well, I've got a coffee here too, and we're just going live now. So thanks for those that are joining us, and a few may be watching this live now, and some may be watching this as a recording later. So we're going to have a great morning this morning, because I have one of our team has said one of their most proudest book, that they're really happy with how it all come together, and it's a definitely amazing read. So this morning we have Marcus Pearce, the amazing new author of The Exceptional Life, and make the rest of your life the best of your life, which is amazing. So Marcus, welcome this morning, and thanks for joining us and sharing with the people here today about your amazing book. And I just always like to ask, where did the book come from, and why did you write it?
Thanks, Susan. Well, I never thought, it sounds so cliche, I never thought I would write a book, but I did I've always been a bookworm. I've got a small bookshelf in the office and a large bookshelf in the garage. And I've always loved books. But I never thought I'd write one. I just thought it really took too long. And I say that now, having taken 5 years to write Your Exceptional Life. But I just had really an epiphany. I remember I was running a small mastermind event for 4 clients. It was called Wealth and Productivity Mastery, which was really a time and money weekend. And I did a goal setting workshop with them. And it was like, what do you want to achieve in the next 12 months? And people are like, I want to earn this amount, and I want to cut down to 10% body fat, and I want to, fall in love, and I want to, read, a book a week. And then I was like, the next exercise was, well, what if you knew you were going to die in 180 days? And it sounds a bit morbid, but then the goals started changing from, oh, I need to organize my life insurance. We keep on putting it off. I need to organize a will. I need to repair the relationship with my mum or my dad or my spouse or my sister or my brother or my friends. It all became very just completely different to the run-of-the-mill goals. And I did this myself. You kind of give people 15 minutes and you put quiet lounge music on to do the exercise. And I thought, I'll do this whilst they're doing it as well. And mine was essentially, the idea was you're going to write a list and you're going to choose 3. One of mine was, I've been podcasting for years. I've got an online program. I run lots of events. I have all of these clients, but all of my IP is what I like to call fractured. It was split everywhere. And as a bookworm, I thought, well, if I got hit by a bus in 180 days, my kids, who are young now, and they were younger then, I think I only had 2 kids when I had this epiphany, I now have 4, was they wouldn't know how to access my stuff. It was kind of split. I thought, if I could have this is what daddy thinks on how to live a life. If I got hit by a bus, here's what your dad thinks about how to live a life. That was the 180 days to live exercise. Mine was write a manuscript. Doesn't have to be published, but just write my thoughts on living in the next 6 months. So I started getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, pour myself a green tea, literally looked at all of the slides that I would use at my 2-day events and my mastermind events, and I turned all of that into a manuscript. And then I've pretty much been refining that for 5 years until we now have the actual book in our hand, which is, that's kind of it. Now, like, without sounding flippant, if I did get hit by a bus today on the way to Darby's, class 3 parent info night tonight at 5:30, then without, again, sounding flippant about life and death, I know that the kids have that manuscript on how to live.
Amazing. I mean, just that question alone, people talk about things that they want to achieve, bucket lists and things like that. But when you talk about stopping and going, if you only had this amount of days to live, there'd be so many things that become a higher priority than maybe going and jumping out of a plane or doing different things like that. So that's really an interesting question. And so, the book, why you've written it is really great. Can you try and, I know that it's a big book. It's a great big book. It's a good read.
And it was so much bigger. It was so much bigger.
Yes, we did do a bit of edits here and there. And
have you seen this? The A4 edition, 125,000 words, which drove people batty. When I sent the beta readers about 8 to 10 friends or professional colleagues and clients, and it's so good to know what would not have been published. Susan, I did you a favor by sending it out before joining Dean Publishing, because it was an opus. It was wildly big.
Well, yeah, we're very glad. It would have been looking like one of those the dictionaries that are out.
Yeah, it was Harry Potter proportions.
Yeah, people would have taken a lifetime to read it.
Yeah, they would never have opened it. Let's be honest. They would never have opened it.
But it is an amazing book, and it really is jam-packed with a lot. Can you, there is a lot, but can you sum up a little bit about what the book's about?
Yeah, sure. So there are 8 ingredients to this. My whole epiphany in life was this exceptional life blueprint. Why do some people live exceptional lives? Why do some people settle for mediocrity or average in areas of life? So the book is, I won't move my camera down, but the book, this exceptional life blueprint, forms the organized structure of the book. It's separated into 8 ingredients: your life purpose or career, your movement, your social life, your nutrition, your family, your growth, your wealth, and your spirit, soul, and faith. The first 3 ingredients, your life purpose or career, your movement, and your social life, form your exceptional longevity. All of the exceptionals that I've interviewed that live a great long life, they do what they love and they love what they do. They move regularly and they have a great social community, and they love where they live. Quality of life is enhanced by great nutrition, not just what you eat, but who you eat with, how you eat your food, when you eat, why you eat. Great family relationships, so your Christmas days aren't awkward, marriages aren't awkward, or weddings aren't awkward, marriages aren't awkward. You don't want to marry the wrong person, that's really hard. All of those family events, because you have a lot of them. You don't want them to be awkward. Growth yields, when you learn what you love to learn, that yields great enthusiasm for life. And when you spend less than you earn and invest a difference, you create a great quality of life. None of those 4 ingredients necessarily make you live longer. So they go in part 2 of the book, your exceptional quality of life. And then I wrap a big circle around this exceptional life blueprint, and that's your spirit, soul, and faith. Because if you don't put your spirit into each of the preceding 7 areas of life, life just becomes one big to-do list full of right and wrong, good and bad, love and hate, and labels, and more labels. And it's so important that we do put our spirit into everything that we do. So the book is in 3 parts: longevity, quality of life, and spirit, with those 8 ingredients scattered throughout.
And I've had the privilege to be able to obviously be a part of it, and I know that it was so many things that you've simplified, but you've actually you've made it very easy to understand. But it's just it really is core ingredients. And I have to ask, of course, what is the secret to an exceptional life?
Well, funny you ask, because a lady saw me. I go to the cafe every morning to work on the book, and a lady saw me proofreading this mock copy, and she's like, "What does the author say?" She didn't know it was my book. She was like, "So what is the secret to an exceptional life? What does the author say is the secret?" And I was halfway through a coffee. It was 6:15 in the morning. I was totally caught off guard. The owner of the cafe came. He's like, "He is the author. He wrote the book. He knows the secrets." And I literally froze. It was really good, because I was like, "Oh, shivers. Okay, well, it is community. It's doing what we're doing now. It's being with people that you enjoy, you like being around." But then I thought of it. after I butchered it, I was like, actually, like, it's not as easy to say that there's one secret. The whole idea is that there are eight secrets. There's every one of these areas, ingredients of the recipe called Your Exceptional Life. They all depend on each other. And the whole premise of the book is if you're good at 6 of them and you stuff up 2, the consequences are disastrous. 42% of all dementia would disappear if we moved 30 minutes a day. So you can be kicking butt in your career and have the best family life ever and have money in the bank. But if you haven't prioritized movement, all of that falls apart like that. And for me, the consequences of mediocrity are disastrous. And we have to wrap our head around this philosophy of living that we can't go from a win at all costs mentality, as Trevor Hendy says. We have to go, in Trevor's words, we have to go to a win on all levels understanding. And we must live to win on all levels. Yes, we all have different values. I know my weaknesses are movement and wealth. I'm so good at spending and less good at saving. And I do prioritize work over movement at certain times and pay the consequences of that. But knowing that and then deciding to prioritize movement at certain times and saving over spending at certain times and the rest, really important. So we have to recognize that we can't sweep things under the carpet and hope that it's okay. But there is a bit of a human condition that attempts to do that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And what I also loved about it was looking at things like just making yourself aware so that you can go, well, from 0 to 10, where am I playing inside of this movement? Or, really giving you that awareness to go, well, I need to maybe look at balancing this out a little bit. So definitely, I think that it is, like you said, a combination of all, but it makes you aware to say, where could I be improving a little bit more in a particular area?
And most people will find it really easy to turn their strengths into greater strengths. So we might say our career is an 8 out of 10. So we work on making it a 9 out of 10. Whereas I hope people read the book and they go, you know what? My career is an 8 out of 10, but my movement sucks. I'm like a 1 out of 10. And the temptation is just to make career even better. But the call to action in the book is to actually prioritize your movement, not to go from a 1 to an 8. But in 2021, it might be to go from a 1 to a 5, and then to a 6 and to a 7, and then to an 8. Like it's progress, not perfection. Progress is so much more fulfilling and sustainable rather than attempting to create this 10 out of 10 life in every area of life. And anyone here that is a grown adult will know that it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. You have moments where you're like, oh, you have nirvana, come to Jesus moments where, your kids are well behaved, there's money in the bank, you're feeling good in health, your career's on fire, you're in love with the world and the universe, you're at one with God, and you think it's all down pat. And in the next minute, you get a phone call that wasn't on the script for the day, and it can all change very quickly. So the idea is not to strive for perfection. The idea is to recognize that we're already exceptionals, every single one of us. We won the race. We were born. Think of it that way. We are the exception to the rule. Just go watch. What's that movie with John Travolta? Is it Look Who's Talking? Is it Look Who's Talking, where they have the sperm wins the race at the beginning of the movie?
Absolutely. It's a great movie.
Right.
Yes.
Anyone that's in their 30s and above will know that movie. If you're in your 20s, you probably haven't seen it, but it's a great reminder of just, we already won the race by being born. We are exceptional to begin with. We don't actually have to create something that we don't have. The book is really a reminder. And I say in the book that, like, for many of us, this feeling of actually going, I am an exceptional human being, is buried very, very deep down in the trenches of our guts, because we may have been told by parents or teachers or friends or colleagues or employers that we're not worthy and we're not worth it. And that is, it can be a hard ladder to climb, but it's an essential ladder to climb. And a lot of the time, it's just between the ears. It's not that you have to go and have it out with these people and work it out. It's actually that we have to do the work ourselves rather than think that it has to be externally motivated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so great about this book. It is truly saying that we are already exceptional, like you said, and just looking at where we could improve. And like you said, who's ever going to get 10 out of 10 across all of those areas? It's really,
everyone has an Achilles heel. I haven't met anyone that doesn't have an Achilles heel. everyone has an Achilles heel. Steve Jobs, everyone loves him for what he did at Apple. His family life was a mess. You know, Elon Musk at the moment, I think he's 2 divorces, has to be pulled out of the office by his EA to like go and eat dinner. Like we put a lot of people on pedestals and say how amazing they are, but we don't see on their Instagram or in their books or on their Twitter feed the parts of their life that are mediocre and the consequences that they pay for that. So, you know, we do all have to make a conscious decision is what is, you know, I love movies. It's like, what script are we writing for our exceptional life, knowing that we are the script writer? The greatest regret, and I mentioned my dear friend Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, quite often. You know, the greatest regret of humanity is that we lived our life according to the expectations of other people instead of our own. We let other people write the script of our life. That is the number one regret of a dying person on their deathbed. And if we can acknowledge that now whilst we're alive and we can do something about it, then we have a great power to turn our life around and own our exceptional life.
Exactly. And even for the younger ones that want to read this, what's so great is I think we realize that the older that we get, you know, you start to realize that you want to live the life that you want, not determined by that. What I also wanted to say is that you've got 64 exceptionals in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And 26 of these you've interviewed on your podcast, 100 Not Out. They share so much insights as well. But do you have a favourite?
Oh, do you have a favourite child, Susan?
No, I've already been asked this in my questions, and I said no, I don't have a favourite child because I don't. But one of them is going to make me a grandmother soon, so like she's favourite at the moment.
my nana, Norma Anderson, who is one of the exceptionals in the book. She was 33 without children. Met my pa, who was grieving his wife's death, who died giving birth to the 10th child, my Auntie Christine. Annie Seymour, who I never met, hemorrhaged, giving birth to my Auntie Christine. My nana inherited 10 kids, had another 5, all of which, one of them being my mum. And I share in the book, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the death of Annie Seymour. So as hard as it is to say, thank you, Annie Seymour, for giving up your life so that 5 extra humans and their children could be born. But I asked my nana when I did her life memoirs, Nana, who do you have a favorite child? And you know, do you have a soft spot? She said, I don't, but if I had to give you an answer, it's the one who is ill or sick at the time. And I thought that's a really good answer, because when you have a child that's ill, they need you more than the children that are humming along. And having 4 kids, I often have to explain, look, just because your brother is ill doesn't mean, you know, you're not important, but I do need to give him more attention and love and care. So coming back to your question, I think the exceptionals that have had what I consider the toughest lives, I do have a little obsession with interviewing Holocaust survivors. I think because I've lived such a cushy, you know, white Australian life, you know, I don't want to say I've been far too privileged, but I have been extraordinarily privileged to live the life that I have lived. I haven't, touch wood, but you know, touch wood's not even the right thing, but I haven't gone through much trauma. You know, I haven't really gone through a trauma that would get any headlines of any cause, you know. So when I hear people that have got 2 feet on the ground, walking, working, living with a smile on their face, you know, Eddie JQ, the happiest man on earth, you know, I think we interviewed him when he was 95. He's a dear friend of mine. He lives in Sydney. He wrote a book when he was 100, became a bestseller. I remember him sending me a text message saying, I've just knocked Julia Gillard's book off the top of the charts. I'm like, Eddie, you're doing great things at 100. You know, he lost his entire family but his sister to the Nazis. I mean, it's just incomprehensible. You know, we whinge and moan, and I don't want to be flippant, but we talk about COVID. We'll go and interview a war survivor and listen to them talk about rations, and listen to them talk about, you know, humbug lollies being on rations, and imagine being a kid with lollies being on rations. You know, so we don't really know. I don't really know trauma in life. So to interview people that have experienced significant trauma and hear them come out the other side is absolutely inspiring. Schindler's List, Holocaust survivors, people that were sent by their parents. Like, imagine having a 1-year-old child that you sent off to a safe house in another country so that they weren't gassed and killed and maimed. Like, it just blows my mind. So they are the people that inspire me. Eddie JQ, even Sanduk Ruit, who has personally restored sight to over 130,000 human beings that had cataracts or some form of blindness that could be cured with his own hands. He grew up in a village in Nepal, at the foot of not Everest. What's the one that's, anyway, it's like the second highest mountain on the planet. There was no school in the village. His father and his grandfather saw how curious he was. He asked questions like, why does the lake, travel in that direction? And why does the leaves turn that color? And they couldn't comprehend his curiosity. So they sent him to a school. It was a 15-day walk away in Darjeeling, India, a walk. And he didn't see his family for 2 or 3 years because they couldn't walk the 15 days to go and pick him up. Like, it just blows your mind. And he became the first ophthalmologist, I think, definitely in his first medical doctor in his village, one of the few ophthalmologists in Nepal. Fred Hollows mentored him. Fred Hollows on his deathbed told him to build an intraocular lens in Nepal. So you've got this like developing nation building world-class materials. He reduced, that operation. We pay thousands of dollars and you can do it for literally $25 thanks to people like Sanduk Ruit. And anyway, I mean, I could bang on. I could go on and on and on, but there are too many to count. But yeah, they would be just a few.
Yeah, and I love that. Like you said, whoever needs that attention. So it might be a favorite, but it's never a favorite all the time.
No.
And I totally hear what you're saying. It's like, I wonder how my dad went, being in the Vietnam War and even saving his ration chocolate, because there was no chocolate like the army chocolate that he'd bring home. But, I wonder what he'd say sometimes when we'd whinge because, we were cold or hungry or, and that was because dinner wasn't on the table on time, So
I don't like my dinner. This isn't nice.
Yeah.
You kind of, I mean, I don't know if it's just that all children around the world do it, but you just want to blow up.
Yeah. You really don't. You really wonder, don't you, with some of these people that have had real hard times, not what we consider hard times.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask, this last question, and it already, I've read the book, and it's like I want to read it again. I want to jump on your 100 Not Out and listen to some of the other people, because I know that there's 26 out of the 64, like I said, that are on the podcast. So there's so much more in the book as well. But who's this book for, and what do you want this book to achieve?
Well, it's a good question, because I used to think I was in the aging well space, and I'd go and do talks to people over 65 and they'd say, oh, that's nice, dear, but I'm too old to do anything that you're saying. So I realized very quickly that my market wasn't older people, even though I'm obsessed with making the rest of your life the best of your life. I realized very quickly that, people in their 20s are scared of turning 30. People in their 30s are scared of turning 40, and so on and so on and so on. So the book is timeless. The book can be read in 50 years from now and it will still apply. But the book can be read by anyone that, as cliche as it sounds, wants to make the rest of their life the best of their life. So I say, if you're in your 20s or your 30s or in your teenage years, it's an exceptional life design book. I want to design my life consciously, which for me, that was definitely my 20s and 30s. It's like, right, I want to live life on my terms. How do I want to do it? What type of work do I want? What are my favorite ways to move my body? What are my friends like? Who are the top 5 people I hang around? Do they get ticks or crosses? How do I change that? What's my diet like? How do I improve it? You kind of go ahead and you design each ingredient to make this recipe called Your Exceptional Life. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you do begin to wonder, like, have I lived the glory years? Are my best years behind me? Is it all downhill from here? This is a question. Everyone gives me this nervous giggle when I say that, but I know, being 39 now and having interviewed hundreds of people and just having friends and family around it, living this on a daily basis, people go, people resort back to teenage behavior. I'm turning 40 this year. I know people resort back to teenage or mid-20s behavior at 40th and 50th because they haven't regulated their life to be 40 or 50. And I won't go into the details, but anyone that can read between the lines knows what I'm getting at here. So in your 40s and 50s, it's my best years behind me. The book answers that quite clearly to go, if you're ready to live your exceptional life, your best years aren't behind you. You can, and you have the opportunity to make the rest of your life the best of your life, like the best, not the same as the best part of your life. And then if you're in your 60s and 70s and beyond, it is the challenge for you to age gracefully, because in Australia, we are 4th on the ladder for longevity, and everyone's like, that's so good. I'm like, well, get prepared for it. If you're 50, you're only halfway through your life. I got a dear friend that was 50 yesterday. It's a halfway mark. It's not the downhill slope, because that's what a lot of people are like. It's like, I've reached the top now. Now I'm going downhill. Absolutely not. You want to learn how to age gracefully, because when you hit 50, mortality's staring you in your face. You got parents that could be dying. You got parents that could have chronic diseases that they could be having 18 pills a day for the next 10 or 20 years, and their quality of life goes down, because whilst we might be 4th in Australia for longevity, length of life, our quality of life sucks. We go down to 15th on the ladder, and I share this in the book. We go down to 15th on the ladder for quality of life. We average 11 terrible years of lowered quality of life, and we die at 83 on average. Who would want to be alive for 11 sucky years to go on a slow decline? It sounds punishing. And we don't want that. So if you're in your 60s or 70s and you're approaching that 72 where you're feeling pretty good, and then you get a chronic diagnosis, whether it's dementia, diabetes, whether it's a slow growing cancer, where diagnosis to death can be 5 to 10 years. Anyone here that is in that phase of life knows there are so many conditions that you can be diagnosed with that can put you on a litany of medication. Medication will no doubt contribute to your longevity, but will it contribute to your quality of life? And they're the questions that we want to ask for ourselves. I'm a firstborn, fiercely independent Leo. I definitely want to live life on my own terms for as long as I can. And I want to have quality of life like many longevity cultures do. They might have 2 days, 2 weeks, maybe 2 months of lowered quality of life. And for that, I mean lying in bed with their family all around them. They're probably still having a cheeky scotch and a glass of wine, but they're doing it with a smile on their face. They're just not going out to the friend's house. They're more just having their friends and family come and visit them. So, that's the life I would love people to want to live. Whether they choose to or not is up to them. But that's the picture that the book paints, and it's the opportunity that the message of the book presents.
Absolutely. And look, we've shared a lot here today, and I know that, for the listeners here now and later, we've got Marcus is doing an exceptional thing, and he is offering the book for under $5, like $4.99.
Yes.
Crazy it is,
yeah.
Just for the next, say, 24 hours. So if you want to get the ebook, and you want to get it now, jump on. The link will be in the comments. You can jump on and grab your book for less than really a cup of coffee these days. Get the book. You can read it on your devices. So it is just the ebook launch at the moment. And, if go through, read it, put some reviews out there if you think that it's great, so that others can learn about this, and let's all create, our exceptional life. I know I'm in the second half now, over the 50 mark. So for me, it really is about being conscious about the different areas, which, I definitely am. And this read only enhances that even more. So for anyone that wants to take advantage of this, next few days sale, jump on $4.99. You can grab it on Amazon now and read it on your favorite device. And I just want to say thank you for choosing us at Dean Publishing to publish a book. It's a book that we're very proud of, as well, that we've been able to work with you on, and something that we know, like with all our books, that are such great reads, that I believe everyone needs to grab a copy of this book. And like I said, who doesn't want to live the rest of their life as the best of their life and live an exceptional life? So thanks so much. Is there anything, last parting words that you want to say to our viewers here today?
Oh, well, actually, it's just about what you said about the publishing game more than anything, because I was, and this is for anyone that is ever thinking of writing a book, I definitely thought I would do this all by myself. Again, terrible firstborn independent Leo child, just doesn't need any help. And then I recognized very quickly, I have a number of friends who are either published authors with Hay House or Wiley and other big mobs, and then a lot of authors that have done it themselves. And I have colleagues, I have friends that did it all themselves, and they have boxes of books sitting in their garage because they attempted to do it all themselves. And all of that time and effort and energy, and they missed significant vital steps along the way. And you guys at Dean Publishing, you, Susan, Chloe, and Monique, and Nat, and Jazz, and Mairead, and everyone, Michael, everyone there, I go, gosh, I'm so lucky. Like, just to give a bit of context, my cousin Eric is in a Rotary group with Susan, and Eric came to me. I don't even know how it came up. He said, do you want to do a talk at Rotary? It was probably because I put it out there that I was publishing a book all by myself. He's like, I'll help you, family. You can do a talk at Rotary. Little did I know that Susan would be there. And thankfully you run a publishing company, and said, how about it? And I called, I don't know if I've told you this, Susan, but I called around. I called people in the local area. I did a bit of a character reference on you. I investigated, used all my journalistic skills. I called authors that had published, that had self-published, all the rest of it, and thought, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually ask for help. And I'm so glad that I did. Having an editor, a designer, having people that know the Amazon game, the publishing game, the printing game. I wanted to print at McPherson's because I wanted to keep the money in the local economy in Maryborough. And you're like, yep, we know McPherson's. We do, like, having everything in one phone number, one location, one team of people has been an absolute godsend. And I could not imagine it doing it the way that I originally thought, having a number of different contractors and in all different countries of the world and trying to navigate that. Oh, just shoot me now. So thank you for just the team that you've created, and you've over delivered. You helped me record the audio book again, which I thought I'd do myself, and you helped me organize that. And I'm so glad I did that. So I really appreciate what you guys offer and deliver. And yeah, if anyone reads the book and thinks, great book, well, I wouldn't have got to the finish line without you guys. So yeah, genuine, heartfelt thanks for all of the work you do for humanity and people like myself.
Well, wow, thank you so much. And I didn't know you stalked me and did all those references, but that's good.
I do that for a lot of people. Yes. I can't take a journalist out of me. It's still always in me.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the point, at the end of the day, you do want to find someone that you can be happy with. So as Marcus said, we've got the physical book, we've got the audio book coming out, we've got so much, but if you want to jump on today and grab that book for $5 for your EPUB Amazon, the link's there. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that this has only been parts of, so if this has excited you enough or got your interest, then you need to buy the book. And we look forward to hearing some feedback from the readers on this. And thank you so much again today, Marcus.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Susan.